We have used data to find every Premier League club's perfect signing. We've found the solution to Liverpool's midfield problems, the missing profile that completes Man United's midfield, and we believe that we've found a forward who can transform Tottenham's attack. But first, let's have a look at Chelsea. And in defence, Disasi, Fofana and Badiashile, they've only played a total of 996 minutes so far this season. So, bizarrely, it feels like reinforcements are needed or, another roll of the dice. And Maresca's system relies on centre-backs who have line-breaking capacities, so this was the main focus for us. And it's also important that they can play immediately. Chelsea are battling on several fronts this season, so we've chosen a Premier League defender who averages 6.7 progressive passes per game, putting him in the top 3% across Europe. And crucially, he's got the passing qualities that Chelsea require as well. Weirdly, you might wince, but actually these lads have gone good for you. It's another Brighton player. It's Jan-Paul van Hecke. That Premier League pedigree mixed with the quality that he has on the ball for a team that dominates the ball, or certainly he dominates the ball within that team, I think he's a really, really good option. Like many of the names on this list, January is an awkward time, so look, can they get these ones over the line? That's not up for me to do. Just saying that these are really good options that you should keep an eye on and they should pursue at the very least. Next up, Nottingham Forest. Despite 13 new faces over the summer, January reinforcements could bizarrely really kickstart their season. Their four strikers have only combined for 3 goals in the league so far this season. So that for me is a noticeable problem. You've got injuries to Wood and Awani that have played a big factor in that. And without Wood in the team, leave it. Forest lack a target man in the box. Also, I think it's important to factor that Forest's history of ambitious transfers mean that there may be a world where they look within the Premier League instead of going elsewhere. So that's what I'm going to put forward. 6'4" striker who scored 14 goals in the Premier League last season, whilst also being pretty solid in the air with 40% aerial duels won. And I think there's an opportunity to capitalise early, with Wolves looking almost certain to go down at the time of recording. Jurgen Strand Larsen, I think, would be really suitable signing for Forest. I think it's a place where he can grow with the team. I actually really like this one, so the question is, how much would you have to put forward for Wolves owners to take it? Next team to look at is those crazy cottagers, Fulham. Last season, you had Jimenez and Muniz, who scored 20 goals in total. Actually, Muniz scored loads of those goals from the substitutes bench. But this season, between the two of them, 3. Only 3. So both these strikers have done well for the club and they've both been physical. They hold up the ball. So I think targeting a technical striker for a new attacking dimension makes sense. So my target for them has an average of over 3 shot creating actions per 90 in 7 of the last 8 seasons. So that for me proves that he is a creative striker for something a little bit different. And with this being a World Cup year, there may be an opportunity to sign this player on loan. If you want to call it lazy, then feel free, but actually it's a well-trodden road that Fulham have gone down several times, and it's one where, where is this player at when it comes to his time at Arsenal? So, as I say, in a World Cup year, there may be an opportunity to get Gabriel Jesus. Do Arsenal feel like they need that same kind of firepower? Maybe, maybe not, and if they don't, I think it'd be a great move for Jesus to go to Fulham, and it gives him a chance to play regular minutes. Next up is Liverpool, and we have done a video on 5 signings that could fix Liverpool's problems. But after spending around 450 million in the summer, it's hard to imagine how they could need those reinforcements. And look, it's common knowledge that Mark Gay remains a target, and they probably will go back in for him, right? So let's have a look at another part of the pitch. And at times this season, Gravenberch has come under fire for not being that kind of out-and-out 6. And I think Liverpool could invest in a different option in midfield. And in particular, a defensive midfielder whose main priority is to sit and screen. So we're going to check this one out there. I found a specialist DM. He averages over 3 tackles per 90, ranking him in the top 6% in Europe. His 1.63 interceptions per 90, that ranks in the top 4%. So here is Sergi Altamira here on his own screening the defence. What I like about him is that he understands when to engage and when not to. And sometimes Liverpool have been exposed this season, so to have that player that sits there and does that is great. And in this instance, he prevents Barcelona from playing out. Altamira could be a great solution or an option as a solution for Liverpool as that specialist DM when they need it and if they need it, because it feels like Arne Slot is still trying to find the correct balance for this team. A team that has swapped some of those workers for superstars. So to maybe add in a new worker, a clever one at that, could be a good option. Now let's take a trip to Wolverhampton. Wolves, they're pretty desperate when it comes to needing signings. And two of their attacking signings, Fer Lopez and John Arias, are yet to score. In fact, Fer Lopez has only started once. So I think bringing in firepower and creativity is an absolute must. They lost Cunha, of course, in the summer, who averaged 4.57 shot creating actions per 90 last season. So they've lost that as well. And Arias and Fer Lopez have definitely not brought it back in. This season, the highest is Hugo Bueno with 2.82. No bueno. Am I right? Not the time? Yep, got it. I think it's important to be smart here. So we found a player in the Spanish second tier, but he's way too good for that level. He's got 7 goals and 5 assists and averages a very impressive 3.1 successful dribbles per game. Yeremay Hernandez has the ability to create chances from these wide left positions, slipping in his teammate here with a little, I was going to say juicy nutmeg, but maybe a crunchy nutmeg? Spicy nutmeg. Let me know. The weight of the pass allows his teammate to hit it first time and score. Yeremay Hernandez will be playing in a top 5 league soon. So although it might not be the most awe-inspiring change for Wolves, bringing in a player who could go to those levels with you in the Championship initially and then back into the Premier League. So I think it could be a clever option for you guys. Battling it out with Wolves down the bottom, Burnley. They desperately need an attacking signing. The striker that we found is 6'3". He's got Champions League experience and is a full international with Canada. They're pretty decent these days. So last season, he scored 24 goals in 41 games. This season, he's got 11 in 25. That includes 2 in the Champions League. What I like is this striker brings the physicality that the league demands, but that box threat that Burnley, I think, really desire. So that's why Promise David of Union Saint-Gilloise would be the perfect striker for them in January. And that's a promise. Another team hunting for a forward are Brentford. Mbeumo and Visser were sold. Ouattara is going to be at AFCON, while Reece Nelson is injured as well. So we found a striker that I think could become an elite goal scorer. And like Igor Thiago, Brentford frequently bring in players from outside of the top 5 leagues and they reap the reward. This 27-year-old may be another that follows in Thiago's footsteps. His stats this season are a joke. 16 appearances and 18 goals. That means he's averaging a goal every 73 minutes. So to make that even better, have a look at his conversion rate, 29%. So strong. And he even uses techniques that Haaland uses to find space, deliberately starting deeper than the defenders here rather than being on the shoulder, and meaning he can take a touch inside whilst the defender is now moving the other way. And he tops it off with a great finish. He's brilliant with his head, brilliant in the box, kind of has that Haaland instinct, but because he's a little bit smaller, I guess, that's where he's got a little bit of a Visser vibe in terms of being able to sniff out chances. And so for all of those reasons and the fit of Brentford, we feel that Ayase Ueda could have an instant impact. He's absolutely smashing it up for Feyenoord. Scored 4 in the last game that I saw him play, and the goals are just cute, clever, precise finishes. He'd be a really great option if there's moments where Thiago is either injured or if you want to take him off, another great substitution up top. And a player that can take the bumps. At Sunderland, it feels clear to me that the focus will be on the midfield. You've got Siddiqui and Diarra set for AFCON duty, so this is going to stretch them in this department. Now, the player that we found excels in possession. He brings plenty of energy and intensity that Labrie demands. He averages 7.21 progressive passes per 90. That's higher than any Sunderland player this season. He can drive his team forward effectively, averaging 1.97 progressive carries per 90 as well. He's got Premier League experience and he has a knack for creating chances too, with 3.07 shot creating actions per 90. And also, just at the age of 26, Guendouzi, yep, him, could be a fantastic target for Reggie Labrie. They even worked together at Lorient. To get a 26-year-old who's got Premier League and Serie A experience and 371 games under his belt, I think he'd be an amazing shout for Sunderland. And he played with Xhaka before, right? Next up is Leeds, who clearly need more cutting edge in front of goal. Daniel Farke's shift to a 2-striker system makes January a crucial window to reinforce. We found a 27-year-old, and his nickname is The Boxer, due to his spirit and aggression in duels. That will work wonders at Ellen Road. This striker scored 15 goals in the Bundesliga last season, and so far this season, he's got 3 goals in 6 games, and he's had an injury that's kept him out recently. He is a consistent danger man for me. It's proven by his 6.35 touches in the penalty area per 90. He's got that physical presence that I think you clearly need in the Prem now, poaching instincts and intelligent movement that make him hugely appealing. That's why Leeds should target Ermedin Demirovic in January. All right, let's take a trip away from the strikers now, briefly, with Everton, who could really do with some fullbacks. They frequently rely on their fullbacks to attack, but combined, they've only totaled 0.6 expected assists this season. And I think a left-back could really lighten the load on Jack Grealish and make it harder for the opposition to defend that left side, because at the moment, you know it's all about Grealish. So our target averaged 4.67 progressive passes per 90. He was very effective in creating chances with 1.91 shot creating actions per 90. It was a breakout season for him. This season, he's fallen down the pecking order at his club. And again, with the World Cup next year, he will be looking for minutes. I think Arsenal would be hesitant. But if you are Everton, I think you are sending a cheeky email and asking if there's any chance you could loan Miles Lewis-Skelly. Because if you can get someone of his quality at Everton, I mean, it would be wild. Do I see it happening? Probably not. But should they have a go at it? Absolutely. But one thing's for sure, regardless of that working out or not, a left back is a must for Everton, in my opinion. Now for Man United, who could be targeting another midfielder. You've got Amorim not favouring Mainu and Bruno Fernandes playing in the pivot, and they need a pace controller who can receive from those centre-backs. That's a big thing that we kind of wanted to focus on here with Man United. And let's be honest, Elliot Anderson would be amazing. Adam Walton would be fantastic as well. But it's January, people, okay? So this midfielder that we're going to put forward is in the top 6% for passes completed, top 1% for passes into the final third. You like it, do you? Yeah, I know you do. Top 16% for tackles and interceptions. Locatelli, often Juventus' deepest midfielder at times. He's been so good for Juventus. He's actually only 27, and his passing range allows them to commit several bodies forward, and that allows Juventus to work the ball into the final third directly. Manuel Locatelli, I think, would complete Man United's midfield really nicely. Another name I wanted to chuck out there was maybe Ruben Neves. We saw him at the Club World Cup, and in incredibly difficult circumstances, he was still able to put in a bit of a shift. He actually drops into centre-back as well, which could open up something for Amorim. Someone like Ruben Neves, who's got that ability to drop into the back line, but also step forward, would be a really good option. Sticking with midfield, another club looking towards midfield could be Brighton. They might be selling midfielder to Man United, and this area has been a vital part of their success in the Premier League. But Carlos Baleba is struggling for form, and his defensive output has dropped off a little bit this season, and it feels like he might be leaving at some point. At the moment, maybe it's affecting his performance a little bit and leaving them a little bit toothless at times, although he has had some good moments as well. There's undoubtedly so much talent there. And with Mats Pfeiffer playing really well for me at right back in the moments that I've seen him, I want to look at the midfield, and I want to address it by finding someone who's comfortable operating in those tight technical spaces. Baleba is brilliant at that. I also want to find someone whose style of defending is perfect for Hösler. So this player reads passing lanes brilliantly, and he defends on the front foot. He body feints his way out of trouble, getting his team on the front foot after, crucially, winning possession. So for these reasons, Joel Fujita could be a very clever and very Brighton-esque move. He is half Japanese, half Nigerian. He can play as a 6 or as an 8, so he's got that versatility that often Brighton like as a club, and I think he could be a cracking little asset. And he's not even that little. Now let's look at who Tottenham need to sign. Fans feel like there's a few profiles needed for Frank Ball to become harmonious. The left wing feels like a problem. They have talent and potential and different profiles, but both Tell, Johnson and Odegaard have all played to varying degrees of success. It does feel lightweight out there, considering what they're used to with Heung-min Son. So our target totaled 20 goals and assists last season in Serie A. But after a fallout with his club in the summer and his contract expiring in 2027, Atalanta may look to take in the cash, the sweet moolah. So, look, man, I want to go for Lookman. The lad has a great trait of being able to start wide before moving into dangerous positions. And when the ball is in a central area, Lookman cuts across the defender here to receive in a shooting position before giving the defender a nudge to create that little bit of space. And this I really like. He's got his back to goal, but fixes it quickly, swiveling and shooting in one clean motion. I really think Lookman could really add goal threat to their left-hand side if they are willing to go for it. I'm going to break the rules a little bit. I'm going to add in another name as well, because I do think Kobbie Mainoo, if you can get him, you'll probably be able to get him for a price that I think you'll be happy with. And I think in that double pivot, you allow Palhinha to be that defensive monster, or even Bentancur kind of sits there, and then Mainoo can move forward that little bit more. But maybe even just a low move. Be interesting to see if Man United would give to a competitor in Spurs. Probably not, you would imagine. But if Spurs can get it done, again, they should certainly inquire. For Crystal Palace, it's about focusing on depth in January. There is a European title on the horizon. Come on now. Maybe even Champions League. What? Hey, maybe you could bloody win this thing, huh? Probably not. Probably not. But, I mean, it's nice to dream. So, this is an area that, again, I don't think people will think about initially, but I think at right wing back, their backup to Munoz is 34-year-old Nathaniel Klein, who simply doesn't have that same energy that Munoz has. And we found someone that I think will bring that alongside great attacking output. We know what we get from Palace, but it's the backups that are crucial here. This right wing back ranks in the top 8% for successful take-ons and the top 1% for non-penalty XG per 90. And considering the movement of Daniel Munoz in the final third, I feel like Nadir Zortea aligns really well. And here's a cheeky example. You got Zortea starting his run early, and he ends up here as the furthest player forward, calmly slotting away the chance. We know Palace like to break and get bodies in the box, and the wing-backs provide those bodies quite often, in particular Munoz. And I know he signed for Bologna in the summer, but with that pull of the Premier League, Palace could get this done. Why not? Right, now let's have a look at probably the toughest one here, our target for Man City. So, no huge weaknesses. They're looking really strong at the moment, and they might look towards a long-term signing rather than a quick fix. But one area that could be addressed is that right-back position. Matheus Nunes has been really, really, really good. But he is a centre midfielder by trade. I think it's probably the only area where they need a little bit more. And we found a player who ticks every box for Man City. His running is what makes him so effective, averaging 2.46 progressive carries per 90. On the ball, he's just as influential, producing 5.02 progressive passes per 90. He's a player that, when I say his name, you're going to scream if you're a fan of that team. But again, it's one where in January, Man City aren't really linked with anyone right now. They did all that work last season. So I think it's still about eyeing up a long-term replacement. And this guy is of the level. He's so powerful with his running and makes him such a threat. This is something that you see if he plays as a left back or as a right back. And here he drives forward and delivers across with his weak foot. That's right. I'm going to put forward Tino Livramento just because I can't see Man City kind of going for anyone else. And if they are going to improve, he is the best option in my mind. I'm sorry if you're not a fan of that, and Newcastle fans, I'm pretty certain you won't be a fan of that. But it would be one hell of a signing if somehow Man City could get it done, either in January or in the summer. Now for Aston Villa, who need reinforcements to aid their title charge. That's right, I said it. Title charge. And a team that's got really solid depth. The one area that they lack a backup is the striker spot. Unai Emery wants the strikers to make runs in behind. So we're having a look for a specific profile. And our target for this one has been in the Premier League before. But since returning to Serie A, he's been absolutely firing them in. His current club, Fiorentina, are in a bit of turmoil at the moment, so a sale may be easier to negotiate. Moise Kean is still only 25. He's really refined his game when it comes to timing his movement. He gets in behind here, 1v1. On the ball, he's calm and manipulates defenders when dribbling, creating space for this. Yeah, that's right, it's a into the top right corner. Aston Villa love a banger this season, and Moise Kean can add to those backers. So this is probably one of our most hipster shouts, and we're going to give it to Bournemouth because, yeah, they're pretty stacked pretty much everywhere, so we thought we'd just kind of look to the future. This player that we found is 17, played 24 times for Sport Recife in the Brazilian top flight last season. His defensive stats at such a young age are pretty remarkable, which is why we put him forward. His reading of the game and the way that he knows when to jump, which is important in the modern game, I think is really impressive, allowing for proactive defending that frequently disrupts opposition build-up play, which would suit Bournemouth, right? Z Lucas wouldn't be able to join until the summer, yes, because that's when he's 18, but he could be a future gem, and that's why I think it would be a really fun, smart move. If you see him linked with any Premier League teams, remember, you heard it here first on the JLA channel. If you're not subscribed, hit that bloody button, will you? Next up, Newcastle, and hopefully you've forgiven me after that Tino Livramento shout. This is the fun bit for you now, a bit of shopping, eh? So, we think another midfielder could be a good target. You've got Bruno G and Tonali comfortable in possession, and it leaves space, I think, for a box-crashing midfielder. The midfielder that we put forward ranks in the top 3% for shots per 90, as well as the top 1% for non-penalty XG per 90. He's very much mastered the art of arriving late in the box, starting his run deep here before arriving undetected in the box to score. Davide Fratese's profile gives Newcastle more box threat, considering it's usually only Voltemada in there. And Fratese's dynamism all over the pitch allows for a balanced midfield. Another cheeky chuck out there. What about Conor Gallagher? I think he needs to come home, maybe to the northeast. And I think he's one that Newcastle fans would absolutely love. You think about the energy that Eddie Howe loves in a midfield. Joe Linton, of course, he's still there. He's still a hero. But Bruno, Tonali and Conor Gallagher kind of let off the leash. Yes, please. When it comes to West Ham, their defence is an area that feels like it needs some attention. They've used 5 different centre-backs this season, but seemingly none of them are the established first choice at the time of recording, at the very least. So, the centre-back that we've found, he's still only 20 years old. He's 6'3". He is so promising. Despite being the deepest defender here, he understands when to engage opponents. Stepping in here clean as you like to win the ball. And when in the recovery phase, he also shines pretty brightly, winning the ball cleanly here, preventing a certain goal. And a little cheeky bonus, he can even take penalties. Very Julian Dix. Very Julian Dix. Well, he's obviously not a left back. Leopold Queerfield could be the centre-back that West Ham build their defence around over the next few seasons. I really struggled to say his surname. At Arsenal, any signing has to have a big impact to be worthwhile. So despite Trossard and Martinelli's good numbers this season, there's space for an elite left winger to come in. And look, now's the time to do it if you're Arsenal. They're so close to the line. And look, these players are hard to find, so we search for players with a high ceiling that may be open to a move. Last season, this player totaled 25 goal involvements in Ligue 1. But with PSG's wealth of talent, Barcola hasn't been one of the first names on the team sheet this season. His ability to play on the shoulder and pin back opposition fullbacks is something that Arteta instructs Martinelli to do. So here his athleticism allows him to get to the ball first, and he's now in a shooting position. But what's great here is that he unselfishly squares it to Dembele, who scores. Barcola would be an instant hit and could be the final addition to seal the title. Do you know what else everybody needs? Well, every club could use a wonder kid. Unfortunately, I've used data to find a whole team of them. If you'd like to see who they are, maybe you can tell your club to buy them. Click here.